I kind of chose an all green outfit to remind myself that I should not. Once it hits green, I should try to make sure I'm wrapping up.
I wouldn't have picked up on that. That was the
No,
significance
literally,
behind it.
literally, it was a color signal to myself, and I was like, once the green light goes off, you need to be looking at how you're wrapping this up.
I'm thinking you're a bit late for St. Paddy's Day if I see you in a green dress at that point,
So yeah, there was that. Gosh, how was it?
Hi, my name's Brendan O'Sullivan, a Toastmaster from Brisbane, Australia. Welcome to my Toastmasters World Tour podcast. Please join me as I travel virtually around the world and chat to Toastmasters from different countries and all walks of life. Let's explore! For this episode of Toastmasters World Tour, like a flightless Kiwi bird, we're still virtually in the land of the long white cloud, in its capital, Auckland, New Zealand, chatting to Nethmie Gala. Listen in to hear the conclusion of the same chat started in the last episode and hear about her experience in the recent New Zealand North District 112 evaluation contests. Let's learn from her how to do a good evaluation and the benefits when applied to our life outside of Toastmasters. Nethmie, once you'd won a division, I then reached out to you.
You did.
You got this random email saying, would you like to join a global online evaluation contest?
Yes, I was so intrigued. That's a novel idea.
So we had someone from Africa and we had someone from Europe. And you were representing Oceania, and then we had judges from North America and Asia. Mm-hmm. So we had all bar South America and Antarctica covered. Mm-hmm. To give it that global feel and feel like we were getting people around the world. How did you find that meeting and process? Was it helpful?
So I'll go to how did I find it first. I'd never done an online sort of evaluation before. I was out of it for the whole COVID period. So I never got to experience those online meetings. And so it was a very strange feeling to just not be able to just see the person in front of you. And then I think it was great to hear other evaluators, like globally, how they approach it and their analysis. It was a super fun thing to do. I think in terms of it being helpful, I think it reminded me that if I have my notes anywhere near me, I will go over time. It's kind of, or that I just will stop looking at the time, because I think when I looked up, the red was on and I just didn't know how long that had been on for. It really re-emphasized to me to stick to my guns with the no notes, and that not every idea I scribble down on my piece of paper needs to be said. Mm-hmm. It was a really great experience to just listen to the auditory part of the speech, because we evaluate both typically, the body language and what we're hearing through our ears, and how those two work together to give a great speech. And so it was really a challenge to just isolate that and focus. Really, you're only left with speech structure and how are you using your voice to paint the picture. So that was a really great challenge. It really made me zoom in on structure, on how do we specify vocal variety and in what ways can we use it. And instead of just saying, vocal variety, actually getting down into the nitty-gritty of how is that applied, character voices, pushing scenarios, using different pitch, pace, pause, all of that. And in terms of usefulness, like I said, I think it was a really apt reminder, a really timely reminder about time and time management. I was taught by Jill Nort that by the time the green light goes on, you should have already been through your first recommendation. That was not the case for me. I think I got into my substantive point way too late. It was a good reminder of time management. So really, it helped me out quite a bit, because it put me back in, it snapped me right back into focus before the district competition.
So just for the sake of our audience who may not have listened to one of the previous episodes,
Mm-hmm.
this is an audio podcast. We had the test speaker audio only. That's why Nethmie and the other competitors couldn't see or evaluate any body gestures or anything else other than the audio. The other aspect to this online evaluation contest that was different to a normal official Toastmasters evaluation contest was that we had judges that not only judged it, but they gave feedback on how they judged it and what they
That was
judged and what
useful.
they did. So that was something a little bit different. How did you feel about that side of it?
It was actually really valuable to, and again, from a global perspective, it's interesting because I feel like each area, each division, each district has its own little subculture of how do they like to do their evaluations and what do they consider to be really important for it. It's super interesting that sometimes even culture can affect an evaluation. The feedback around, I think my main feedback from the ones that I'd heard was just a little maybe too verbose at times, which is fair enough because I went over time. And I think Louisa made the point about, that professor style evaluation where you're sort of setting up and framing the evaluation piece. And I thought that was a fair comment. I think it's a stylistic thing for me. It almost always orientates me to the structure, particularly because I'm going in without notes. I almost fall back into, this is the type of speech that we're looking at, and what a fantastic, entertaining story that we've heard, and what makes a great storyteller. I'm going to look at this, and let's jump straight into the first commendation. This is why it's good, and then that's how I frame up my evaluation, and it gives me direction and keeps me focused when I'm speaking. So it was a great point to make, I think, in terms of. She also made a point, I think, for one of the other evaluators to remove the I statement from it in terms of like how they're relating to the speech so much. Like there was a lot of opinions about, this is how it relates to my life. I sometimes tend to do that in my evaluations as well. I try to throw in a joke or two, and you're just eating up time, right? So that actually really helped because I could feel myself start to do that in the competition. And I remembered Louisa's words, and I thought to myself, no, this is adding no value. This is adding no value. Take it out and get straight into it. So while I didn't really change my style, and she would probably still tell me I was being a little professor-like, her recommendation really pushed me to cut the fat out of my evaluation and just make it like, I was told by the audience that I had spoken to after the competition that it was very information heavy, my evaluation, but it didn't feel dense, so to speak. There was a lot of content, but it kind of all came out through smoothly. And I will credit Louisa for that because her words really made me pause and think and weigh every word that I put in to decide whether or not that was necessary for the evaluation and whether that is going to serve the speaker receiving that evaluation. So that sentence was in my head the entire time. Is this serving the person listening to it? If it is not, take it out.
That's awesome.
So that was great.
If you can take one message that's really sunk in, it's been super worthwhile, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. And thank you, Louisa, for that.
So you went on to District 112 conference on the weekend and you won the evaluation contest. Congratulations. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Oh my gosh. I kind of chose an all green outfit to remind myself that I should not, once it hits green, I should try to make sure I'm wrapping up.
I wouldn't have picked up on that. That was the signal.
No, literally, it was a color signal to myself. And I was like, once the green light goes off, you need to be looking at how you're wrapping this up.
I'm thinking you're a bit late for St. Paddy's Day if I see you in a green dress at that point,
So yeah, there was that. Gosh, how was it? I think the entire conference, it was my first Toastmasters conference. Kevin Prohl and Steve Vale really promoted it quite a bit, and I was heavily influenced, and I decided to buy the 3-day conference ticket, and I went to every single event I could, and it was great. It was a little socially draining, but it was really great. I met some fantastic people, saw some really high level speeches, and What's gutted me a little bit, and it's a double-edged sword, because if you're going last, you either have time to freak out more or collect yourself. I think I did a little bit of both. And I didn't get to hear any of the other evaluators. So that was my saying is, and I think I said it under my breath at division, the moment I finished, I was like, okay, done competing, time to learn. When I sat back down after I finished competing, the first thing I do is I take out my notebook and I'm ready for the next competitor to come out and give their evaluation. I can always learn from how they're going to do that evaluation. So I was a little bit gutted that I didn't get to even hear one person give that their version and their interpretation of that speech. But yeah, I think the whole experience was surreal. I kind of just, when I get into, I'm a little bit of a nervous person when it comes to this kind of stuff before the event. Once I get into the event, I kind of lock in, and then I shut down everything that has nothing to do with the competition, including my own thoughts sometimes. And I lock in. I don't know how else to explain it. When it push comes to shove, it's crunch time. I kind of just, everything just comes into super laser focus. And I just do it somehow. I don't know how to explain it. Well, here's what I'll say. And I think some of the Toastmasters members at Auckland Toastmasters might think I'm a little bit crazy for this, but every meeting I go to, I will evaluate every speaker and every evaluation. And I have my little notebook, my pink notebook that I go up to people with, like saying, hey, do you want extra points? And every time somebody gets up to speak, even if it's not my role, I am practicing that analysis. And then I'm comparing what I've done to the evaluation of the proper evaluation of it, that person, there's another person whose role that is. And so our club gives like 6 to 7 speeches. There's 7 speeches that I get to practice on, and then 7 evaluations. So it's 14 times a night, every fortnight, that I will be practicing that skill. Because otherwise you might not get to be an evaluator for at least maybe once a month or something, you know? And so if something gets missed, or I feel like maybe there's another perspective, I'll go up to that speaker and say, hey, I've done a little mini evaluation. Do you want some feedback? And then I get to practice saying that to that person, right?
Wow.
So it's a muscle memory thing. And I've done that even in my old club. And it's something everybody in varsity used to kind of do, I think. Everybody used to take notes, and it was just a natural thing for me to do. So even though I say it was like my 3rd evaluation at the club competition, in reality, I had been practicing that quite a bit. And so when I sort of lock in, when a competition happens, I feel like it's just that muscle memory kicking in. And there's no time for nerves. It's just, it's another speech. I'm at club. I'm just evaluating. And that kind of just focuses me in. And I feel like a lot of the times, even in Toastmasters meetings, we get so fixated on this is the role I've been assigned that we forget that we can practice other things at the same time. Because let's say you're table topics master, you don't have to be active until the latter part of the meeting, because all your work's been done before the meeting, right? You've chosen your questions. So if I'm table topics master, what's stopping me from just writing an evaluation for the speakers that are coming up? Nobody's going to know if I don't tell them. And I did it. I was Toastmaster yesterday, and I still did those evaluations because I thoroughly enjoy the practice of it and analyzing somebody's speech. So it's a fun thing for me, a nerdy fun thing, but I feel like it just helps. The more you do, the more you practice, right? The easier it becomes.
I'm amazed. I've met many very, very passionate Toastmasters. We call them tragics here because they're kind of like Toastmasters nerds. They live and breathe it, and they're sometimes involved in many, many clubs.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I've met anyone who's quite so passionate about evaluations as you are. Not just when they're assigned the role, but they're doing it. So no wonder you're the district champion. I mean,
I'm only there for 2.5 hours every fortnight.
Yeah.
And John Favela said this as well, and I really, really agree. You know, you're part of a Toastmasters club. Even if you don't have a role, turn up, be present. You will learn something. And I kind of took that a little bit further, and I thought, well, turn up and do something. You might as well. And if you, especially at a club like Auckland Toastmasters, where the level is just so high, if I do an evaluation and I compare it to the evaluator who's giving an evaluation, I can see what I've missed, right? And then I learn something then and there, and it's recorded in my notebook. And on the day of the competition, maybe like 20 minutes before we went in, I took out that notebook and I just read through a few pages to just lock in all the wisdom from all the members, and it really helps. It gets you in the zone.
Well, you're very diligent.
Yeah. You can say it. I'm a nerd.
No, that's fabulous. I'm very humbled by it. I'm feeling lazy at this point.
No, hey, I haven't made it to the gym in 2 weeks. There's different ways to be lazy.
I gather that even when it's not your role to be the evaluator, you will sometimes then approach the person and offer to give them your evaluation.
Always
Is that
ask.
usually well received, or?
Yeah, and this is the part about Toastmasters I really love, because if I go up to my friends and be like, "Do you want some unsolicited advice?" They'll tell me to F off, right? Sorry if I'm not. I didn't swear, but I don't know if I can get graphic.
Fine.
But in Toastmasters, literally everybody is there to grow. And they are so receptive to any bit of feedback that they can get, myself included. So I've been really lucky. Both the Toastmasters clubs I've gone to, all the members are keen beans. But I always ask. I always approach with the book in front of my face, like, "Hey, do you want some extra points?" And I think they're used to me doing it now, so they're kind of like, "Yeah, sure." But yeah, it's super. And this is the people management side of me coming out a little bit, where I was a trainer within the team. I absolutely hate to see wasted potential. When I look at somebody, I can see, especially like Toastmasters, you're like, I can see straight away these are the great strengths that you have, and then you've got these one or two things that are holding you back a little bit. You know, if I can tell you you're doing this really well, here's one small thing that I think you can change to just really boost that. I really want to give that feedback on, because I want to see them improve, and it gives me, I don't know, a really great feeling to see that person then apply that feedback and then just grow before your eyes. It's such a rewarding thing to see, and I love to see it at work, and it's the same kind of thing with Toastmasters. You're just seeing people constantly evolve, and if you can be part of that journey, for me at least, it's a very rewarding thing.
I think what you're doing is brilliant. You're asking permission first, which is also fabulous. Have you ever had unsolicited advice in your life that you didn't appreciate?
From my parents.
We're cycling back to the
Yeah, look, no, I love them to bits. I love them to bits. I think there have been moments where there are things that are hard to hear. One of my best friends, Jules, and another person I met at Varsity Toastmasters, and I think her family's like adopted me at this point. So again, Toastmasters really changed the trajectory of my life. I wouldn't have had like one of my best friends if not for Toastmasters or my job. We were having a chat at one point, and she was explaining a situation she was in, and I was like, "Why didn't you call me to talk about this? You know, I would have thought you'd reached out to say something." And I remember her, I can't remember the situation, but I remember what she said. And she says, "Nethmie, you're not the friend I call to vent to. You're the friend I call if I need a solution for something." And I remember thinking, "Oh, what?" Because I want to be there for my friends, right? But it was hard to hear. And I don't know if it's unsolicited advice. It's definitely feedback. I wasn't expecting to hear it on that afternoon, but it's a great thing about having long-term friendships, right? You can be real with them. Yes. And as tough as it was to hear, I had to take a step back and go, she's actually very right. I'm a very solutions-orientated person. And that makes me great at work, because I'll be like, "Oh, that's broken. Let's fix it." But in terms of like relationships and communication, sometimes people just want to be heard.
Yes.
Right?
100%. Yep.
And I realized at that moment I wasn't listening. Yeah. I was listening to respond. So I immediately went into that analytical part of my brain, and not the emotional limbic, whatever part of my brain that controls that human response. So yeah, that was some feedback that was tough to swallow, but it was very accurate. Right. And it has driven home not sometimes, all the time. I need to just, as hard as it is for this chatterbox, sometimes I just need to pause and listen and receive and give back open-ended questions to the person so they can continue to expand on their point. And then when they invite the reflection and when they invite the opinion, then give it, instead of just giving it at the start, because they're not always looking for a solution. Sometimes people know what they want to do. They just want to talk it out.
I love that humility and self-reflection and insight. You are wise beyond your years.
No, you know what? I've got a good group of friends who keep me humble. That's what I'll say.
Is that what it is? Would you say that you're an introvert or an extrovert, Nethmie?
Oh, and this was asked at the conference, by the way, as well. And a few people asked me this question. They were all surprised and they didn't believe me. But by the true definition of it, I am an introvert. I would say I'm a high functioning one. But if I could choose to spend how I would choose to spend my time would be on my own. That is when I re-energize. And it's interesting because I ended up being a people manager, which means I have to talk a lot and I have to be with people. People fascinate me.
Yeah.
That is definitely true, and I love to hear perspective and I love to hear their stories. But I get to a point where the social battery's drained a little bit. So that definitely happened with the conference. Met some lovely, lovely people and had some really great chats. But by Sunday evening, I was completely like fully drained, and I needed to spend maybe like the rest of that night kind of just staring into space or reading my book to recharge. But I have to say, as I've gotten older, I've gotten a lot more comfortable being in those situations where you have to talk a lot. I'm very good one-on-one with people. That doesn't drain me as much, but large crowds and having to talk to multiple people at once and switch from one conversation style to another, that does drain my energy. But I think it's worthwhile. You get to meet people, you get to make a difference. So it's interesting. It's an interesting dichotomy. I don't know if it's an irony, but it's definitely a strange mix.
Yeah, I'm not sure. To me, it's sounding like you are an extrovert, but that you're just burning so brightly that you burn out and need a rest.
No,
Sounds like
how would I put this? When I was younger, my mum would always say that I didn't like to get close to people. I didn't like to be picked up unless I wanted it.
okay.
So if people came to me, I'd just be like, no, leave me alone, unless I wanted something. And then I would go up to them and be like, pick me up. So
Yeah.
I think I had those tendencies from a young
Okay.
age.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I guess it's just human nature, I guess, can be conflicting at times. And it's just important to recognize when you're getting to that point and just recharge.
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned before that when you turned 30, you decided that you were getting a bit stale, so you were going to say yes to the three most next uncomfy things. One of
Yes.
them was being to join an evaluation contest. What were
Mm.
the other two uncomfy things that you've
Well,
completed this year?
and the second one was actually the secondment into the settlements verifications team to manage that. So
Okay.
our chief risk officer, Ben Anderson, he's one I think you'd enjoy talking to. He's very much a man who is after growth and after constantly looking at new ways to do things and improve yourself. And I think that's a really great attitude to have. And it's something that's really, it's galvanized me, certainly. And he he called me up early February on Teams, and I thought, God, I'm getting fired. Something's happening. There's the one of the C-suite's calling me. What's going to happen? And he was just like, relax. It's nothing bad. And he mentioned there was an opportunity for a secondment to manage the settlements and verifications team. They were going through a lot of change. Just needed somebody there to support and help. And that's what I really think management is. It is support, and it is. People always think the manager's at the top, the team are at the bottom. It's, for me, it's the other way around. A manager is there to be a support to the team, to make sure they have everything they need to succeed. And yeah, so Ben hit me up for that, and he said he was only giving me like 12 hours to consider it because he knows I'm an overthinker. So he's like, I'm going to call you tomorrow morning, and you know, I hope you give me a yes. And I was like, I think he could see my eyes were like deer in the headlights. So, you know, I did what I normally do is I give my mother a ring because she's, even though there was a lot of unsolicited advice from her at a young age, she is a really good sounding board for me. And I gave her a ring, and she honestly just said, look, what do you have to lose? You know, you wanted to try something different. What do you have to lose? And then I reminded myself, look, you're terrified of this opportunity. You're terrified to leave your comfort zone and try something different because you are afraid you're not going to succeed. And then I was like, well, damn, I'm going to have to say yes now, aren't I? Because I promised myself if I was uncomfortable, I would say yes. So I called him back up and I said, yes, I will do it. And according to my mother, my stars were in a good place for my career anyway. So Even the stars were aligned. So I said yes. That was the second thing. The third thing kind of has happened, but it hasn't really happened. So I've done it. I can't disclose what it is. To a certain extent, saying yes to that Toastmasters conference was could have almost been the third uncomfortable thing, but I thought that was cheating because I'd have to go there anyway to compete.
Yeah. Nethmie, you obviously love evaluation contests.
Mm.
Do you have any other interest in any of the other contests?
I think they all present different challenges. I have decided I'm going to compete at every single one of them. I'm going to try. Once again, I'm not sure I'm going to be successful because the level of speaking is so high at the club I'm at, but that's the best. That's the best thing. You got to test yourself against the best. And I'm definitely going, table topics is my worst because I tend to jump in before thinking, which is not the best way to approach that. I'm still going to force myself to do it because it will be an uncomfortable thing, and I'm not going to stop at 3. I think the 3 was just a way to galvanize myself into action in terms of putting myself back into that growth phase, that growth zone. Every time there's an opportunity that makes me slightly uncomfortable, I'm going to have to push myself to do it. I have an idea for the humorous speech competition. I'm going to try it. I don't think I'm going to win because we've got some pretty hilarious speakers at Auckland Toastmasters. But I think every time you compete, you learn, you grow, you get to see other people at that level. And I've also seen the benefit now of I never used to do this back in varsity Toastmasters, but I've now seen the benefit of going to area competitions, to division competitions, other divisions as well, helping out, whether they need a judge or a timekeeper or anything, but also just hearing other speakers, other styles. Every club's got its own little thing, So I will definitely be making myself compete. Evaluation is still my favorite, but I think I love the challenge of the international speech competition, that the challenge of finding a topic that's going to resonate with an audience, a wide audience, and then the speechcraft and delivery aspect of it. I think outside of evaluations, that would be my favorite one because it would force me in the act of even creating a speech for that competition to grow. And for that very reason, I think that would be my second favorite. The other two are just a challenge because humor is hard to gauge who's going to laugh, who's not going to laugh.
Yeah. Nethmie, is there anything else you'd like to share with us today?
There's not too much, I would say. I think the only thing I would say as a true evaluation nut in Toastmasters, where I think the real value you're getting out of that club meeting is that mentorship, is the feedback. I would really encourage any evaluator out there to seriously think, when they're giving an evaluation, what is the true worth of those 3 minutes when you're up there, to the speaker that is listening, to the audience that is listening. And if you take anything away from my experiences, take away what I learned from some of the great evaluators I've seen, and that is to identify the what, the how, and the why in all your commendations and your recommendations. And you will find, if you're not already doing it, it will seriously increase the value of the evaluation that you're giving to that speaker. You will show them a blueprint guide on, here's how I can apply what you've given me. And the audience, especially for the commendations, can think, oh, this person's done this really well. This is how they've done it well. And this is why it's important. I can take that away for a speech that I'm making that's similar to theirs. I will leave you with that. I think if anything, that's the one message I'd like to leave you guys with.
Thank you so much, Nethmie. You've been amazing. And once again, congratulations on being the District 112 Evaluation Contest Champion from New Zealand North. And thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to today's show. One of the key elements of Toastmasters is evaluations. This is how we grow and improve, both by encouraging comments for things we got right and points for improvement. We all learn and benefit from these evaluations, not just the person being evaluated. So any feedback in the comments is greatly appreciated. If you have a Toastmasters story you'd like to share or would like to be on the show, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach me at Toastmasters World Tour at gmail.com. Thanks for listening.